to listen to the words of the Holy Gospel, the good news of Jesus for us. Please stand and join us in the Gospel acclamation.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus told his disciples this parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with them for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. Going out about 9 o'clock, the landowner saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You too, go into my vineyard, and I will give you what is just." So they went off, and he went out again around noon, and around 3 o'clock he did likewise. Going out about 5 o'clock, the landowner found others standing around and said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You too, go into my vineyard." When it was evening, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Summon the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and ending with the first." When those who had started about 5 o'clock came, each received the usual daily wage. So when the first came, they thought they would receive more. But each of them also got the usual wage. And on receiving it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last ones worked only an hour, and you have made them equal to us, who bore the day's burden and the heat." He said to one of them in reply, "My friend, I am not cheating you. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what is yours and go. What if I wish to give this last one the same as you? Or am I not free to do as I wish with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous? Thus, the last will be first, and the first will be last." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
The book of the prophet Isaiah was claimed to have been written in stages between the years 701 to 681 BC. But no matter when it was written or how, we are talking 2,600 years ago, and we still find truth in his words today. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are my ways your ways. Isaiah's words are the perfect fit to Matthew's gospel of the landowner and the workers. Thus, the last will be first, and the first will be last. 2,600 years later, we are still set in our human ways of thinking. We still want to be number one, numero uno. Recently, the sports pages and blogs were filled with the story of Kyrie Irving not wanting to play in the shadows of LeBron James. He wanted out of Cleveland so he could be number one, so he can be a franchise player. Finally, after a month or so, he got his way and ended up in Boston. He wanted to be the man. Your ways are not my ways. This feeling to be first and compensated fairly is most embedded in us as infants. Many Americans see resources as endless. They'll be there all the time. We have a tendency to think there is more where that came from. No one needs to teach us to compete for love. A 1-year-old child will scream when the attention of their mother is taken away by something else. At age 2, a toddler will physically hold the parent's face to turn their attention back to them. And by age 3, children become possessive of their toys and don't want to share them with others. A young child may ask their parents, "Who do you love best?" The answer that "I love you all equally" is not very satisfying to the child. Your ways are not my ways. Teenagers ask their friends, "Am I your best friend?" If we are truthful, we ourselves can remember the feeling of being a third wheel in a party of 2, or feel less important when we find a new friend who enters the group. How many couples find themselves separated from each other by online activities or interests of one person that doesn't match or jive with the other person's interests? Your ways are not my ways. The great Jewish storyteller, Isaac Bashevis Singer, used to delight in telling this tale. A poor farmer goes to his rabbi complaining of his sad, miserable existence, living in a small house with his wife, 2 children, and a dog. He asks the rabbi, "Rabbi, I am so unhappy. What can I do?" The rabbi says to him, "You have a goat outside, right?" The man says, "Yes." The rabbi says, "Bring the goat into the house." The next week, the man returns to the rabbi. "Rabbi, it's terrible. The stinking goat has made our house even more crowded. What should I do?" The rabbi says, "Bring in the cow." The farmer goes back a week later and almost at the breaking point. This time the rabbi tells the poor man, "Bring in the chickens." When the man complains again a week later, the rabbi says, "Bring into the house the rabbits." The following week, the horses. The man finally cries, "I can't stand it anymore. What should I do?" So the rabbi advises, "Get rid of the horses." The following week, the rabbits go, then the chickens, the cow, and last, the goat. Back to where he started, the man says, "Thank you, Rabbi. We are so happy since we've had the extra room." Well, the moral of the story is that we can all be afraid of being hurt, and that we become oblivious to the good things around us. We can be so concerned about obtaining what we don't have that we fail to rejoice in what we do have. The parable of the vineyard owner portrays this paranoia. Instead of recognizing the generosity of the vineyard owner toward the they hires, those who work all day see themselves as being ripped off. To be a person of authentic faith means to rejoice in the goodness and mercy of God in both our own lives and the lives of others. When we reflect on this gospel passage from Matthew, who are we? How do we look at the laborers and how they are paid? I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, why I work so hard for the same amount of money as someone else who just showed up. Sure, I got exactly what I expected, a day's pay for a day's work. Then that 3-word letter comes into play that causes so much trouble in my life. But I didn't think everyone was going to be paid the same. I worked longer, produced more goods. My ways are not your ways. Our egos take over and our judgment of what's fair becomes the law of the land. I got what I expected, but I didn't think everyone would get the same. When we let this self-judgment rule our lives, we can justify almost anything. Don't you think? Have we ever said, "I don't sing well, so I don't. I deserve the perks I receive. My schedule is too busy to make me go to church. I don't want to get involved." Your ways are not my ways. Isaiah is pretty straightforward with his prophecy. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call him while he is near. Are we seeking the Lord? Is he near? Matthew's gospel of the landowner parable is also straightforward, if we truly are open to it. The landowner is God, and the workers are us. And God treats us all the same. His love is the same for you, me, Father Mackey and Sister Kate. He has no rank. Yet this parable is one of the easier parables to understand, yet one of the more difficult for us to hear. How many times do we give us lip service to thanking God for our good fortune, for having been born in this country, into this family of ours, into this country of ours, and in a time without letting that gratitude affect our conviction that we deserve it all, just like the laborers, because we worked for it. This week's readings come together in multiple ways, but can all be summed up in Isaiah's disconcerting message that God's ways are far from our own preferred patterns of our ways. Your ways are not my ways. Let us strive to make our way closer to His ways through prayer and through our actions.